Today we're going to cover what to do in the actual year that you're retiring. So we've done two other videos that kind of covered a wide array of items. One was 10 years before retirement. One was 5 years before retirement. This one is on the year that you retire. And this one's titled A Most Dangerous Time, because this actually is one of the most dangerous financial times of your entire life. And so, why is that? Well, first, many decisions cannot be undone. You're going to make some finite decisions on when you retire, how you're going to collect Social Security, how you're going to collect pensions, are you going to move? There's a ton of things going on. Number one thing you need to do is to hire a fee-only planner to help you with this. Now, even though I've got a master's degree in finance and I specialize in personal finance, I will be hiring a fee-only financial planner for this time period, because the cost of mistakes can be huge here. So we want full information. Some of the things that you might not know about are recent tax law changes. The fee-only planner is going to know that. Inheritance tax law changes. Hopefully you've been saving for this day, like I said here, for 40 years, and you've been planning this day for 10 years, so it's not that big of a shock. Now, you want to get a fee-only financial planner, not just any old financial planner. A fee-only financial planner, they've got to pass a lot more licensing. Plus, what they're going to do is charge you a fee for a plan. So you're actually going to get a full booklet of what you should do, or a huge report, and that report is going to cost you anywhere from a simple one is going to be $500 up to $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, depending on how sophisticated and complicated your individual situation is. A lot of financial planners charge commissions, and so they'll give you the plan for free, but what they end up doing is they charge you commissions on the products they sell you. And so that is a salesperson. They do not have to give you good advice. They just can't lie to you when they're giving you advice. So if you go to a financial planner that specializes in real estate, they're going to solve all your problems with real estate. If they specialize in insurance, they're going to solve all your problems with insurance. If you go to a fee-only planner, they're hopefully going to have a much, much more balanced approach, look at taxes, look at liabilities, look at insurance, figure out portfolio balance, and develop that plan, a much, much higher standard. So you need to do that because we're at a really critical point in time here. All right, what are some of the decisions that we're going to have to make, right? Are we going to retire or work part-time? Will we postpone Social Security until age 70, which we certainly want to do if we can? Do you stay in your home or move? Also, you should plan only one large expense each year for the first 5 years. A lot of people way overspend in the first 2 years, and they dig themselves a hole that they cannot get out of early on. You also need to understand sequence of returns and how that can have massive impact on your portfolio. We'll cover that. Also, you need to stay in the stock market. You need to have a balanced approach that includes equities, because a lot of the money, even though you're retiring right now, a lot of that money you're not going to use for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, maybe even 30 years from now. And so you have to let that money grow. So one of the big questions is, you're ready to retire, work or don't work? Even if you're 99.9% sure you don't want to work anymore, you're done with this, you're ready to move on, this is the time you should ask your employer, I'm not sure if I really want to fully retire here. I like it here, I like the job. What kind of offer would you make me to stay part-time? So you want to ask this question because you never know what they're going to come back with. They might come back with a great offer. They might come back with a horrible offer or no offer at all, but at least you'll know. After you leave your employer, if you're out for 6 months or a year, it is very hard to come back and say, I would like to come back part-time. How can we work that? They've already moved on, they've hired people, everything's been adjusted, accounts have been moved. So now's your best time. One of my family friends was going to retire, asked the employer this question, and they came back with an offer he couldn't turn down. He kept 80% of his pay for working 40% of the time. So he worked Mondays and Tuesdays. They also gave him the option of either keeping his company car or keeping health care. And so because he had health care pretty much already covered, he went with the company car. So for working 2 days a week, kept the company car and 80% of his pay. And he did that for 2 years. It was an engineering firm, and they actually wanted him to help with the transition of all the ongoing accounts because some of them lasted a couple years as projects were going. And so if he never asked that question, he wouldn't have got that incredible offer. And he enjoyed working 2 days a week. So instead of working 5 and off 2, he works 2 and he's off 5. There's an awful lot of vacationing and things you can do with 5 days off. It worked out really well. So we want to ask that question. If you can postpone Social Security, you certainly want to postpone Social Security. Each year you postpone Social Security, your benefit goes up 8%, up to the age of 70. So if your full retirement age is 65, for some people the full retirement age is 66. For me, full retirement is 67. So I would have to postpone from my Social Security from 67 to 68 to see an 8% bump. But if you're 65 and you're going to get a $2,000 benefit, if you postpone to 70, your benefit is then $2,800. And one of the big reasons that we want to do this is, A, we're going to go ahead and spend down some of our taxable accounts. Maybe there's some non-taxable accounts. And by postponing this, an 8% rate of return is huge. Also, a lot of people look at this and say, well, how long will I have to live for this to work out, to postpone? I mean, obviously, if you retire at 65, you postpone to 70, and you die at 69, that's a lot of money you missed out on. That is true. But you should look at this really as an insurance policy. The real question and danger here is not that you die at 69, because you probably haven't run out of money yet. The real danger here is you live to 95, 98, 103. Then you have collected a lot more money. And so this is an insurance policy. If you need Social Security to make rent or something like that, then I understand. The other thing that you could do is you could take the largest wage earner, postpone their Social Security, and the other wage earner, your spouse that makes less, you can collect their Social Security, or vice versa. So even if you can't postpone both of your Social Securities, maybe you can postpone just one. And if you're struggling and need that money, you're going to be in trouble in 4 or 5 years. So you need to look at a lot of other things. You probably, if you've got to collect your Social Security money, probably a good idea for you to try to work part-time in retirement, because cash is going to be a problem for you ongoing. One of the other questions is do you stay in your home or not? In my opinion, unless you're being forced out of your home, stay in your home for at least a year. A lot of people have a lot of things are changing, a lot of excitement, a lot of things going on, and so they retire, and within a couple of months they sell their house and they move to Alabama. They move to Biloxi. They move to Sedona. Half of all the people that sell their house wish they wouldn't have. They wish they would have stayed. And another large percentage that sell right away and buy in another city wish they would have bought a different house in that city or in a different area. So about 75% of people would like a do-over. And so in my opinion, the best strategy for that is you keep your house, rent out your house, and when you move somewhere else, then rent there for a year. See if you like it. Maybe you want to move back into your house. Maybe you would rather live in a different neighborhood, but you don't know until you're there and you're living that experience if it works well for you. If you sell your house here, transaction costs on the average house are about $75,000. So you pay $75,000 to sell your house here and buy somewhere else. Then if you don't like it, you're going to end up moving back and spending another $75,000. That is a lot of money and probably leaves a lot of people unable to rebuy their own house or at a significant lower savings threshold because they burned through a lot of their money sheerly on real estate transaction costs that they wish they could unwind after a year. If you've been living in a different community for a year, year and a half, and you love it, odds are then you know you want to live there forever. You can pick a house, you can take your time, you can negotiate, you find a great price, and then you sell your house. Or if you can afford, maybe you're going to rent your house, and that's going to be an income stream. One of the other problems we see of people that retire is they spend a lot of money the first 5 years of retirement. Your first 5 years of retirement, if you think about it, between, say, 65 and 70, generally you're still in really good health. There's a lot of things you want to do. You've got a lot of plans, and you're really antsy because you're used to working 40 hours a week, and so you feel like you should be doing something. One thing that I really encourage you to do is to only have one large expense per year. So like I have here, let's say that you're going to spend 3 months in Europe and you also want to take the grandkids to Alaska for a couple weeks. Well, shoot, that's like almost 4 months out of the year of planning. Why do you need to buy a new home? You can postpone that for a year. Or why would you spend 3 months in Europe and remodel your home in the same year? Remodeling costs can really take off. That could easily be $60,000, $70,000, $100,000 to remodel a home. And depending on the type of remodel, maybe you get that back when you sell it, maybe you don't. So I give big credence here to only one large expense per year. Spread it out. You've got 30 years in retirement. Why do we need to do all 5 of these this year or the first 2 years? Right? Take your time. Make sure that you do your remodel well. Maybe you want to even plan it for almost an entire year. Plan the trip to Europe and fully enjoy it. Figure out all the different places to go. Where are the best deals? Read all the travel logs. Talk to friends. You know, that type of stuff takes time. You're retired. You're no longer in a rush. And that is very hard for people to adjust to. Another very important aspect in our financial planning is what's called sequence of returns. The most dangerous day for you financially is the day you retire. If we start a recession the day you retire, it is going to be devastating to your portfolio. What you hope is the year that you retire, that's when the stock market takes off. So I got 2 examples here in sequence of returns. Now, if we take $500,000, reduce it by 40%, reduce it by 20%, and then multiply it by 20% and multiply it by 40%, we're going to end up back at $500,000. So what we have here is a 5-year return where the average is 0%. But sequence of returns is going to have huge impact on our portfolio. So we start out here on line number 1, $500,000 to start. We get a negative 40% rate of return. That leaves us with a balance of $300,000. We then do our withdrawal of 10%, $50,000. We end the year with $250,000. And as we go through this, you can see how that portfolio just falls and falls and falls until we get down here that when the market actually returns and starts going up, I now only have $100,000 left in year 4. So when I have that 20% rate of return, it only adds $20,000, and I'm pulling 50, so I'm still going down. And then here in the last year, I got 48%, so I've got about 1 year's worth of money left. Just devastating. Now, on the other example, we've got the exact same average rate of return, which in this 5-year example is 0, a 0% rate of return. But in year number 1, we have a 40% increase, which means we have a positive $200,000. We pull out 50, leaves us with $650. We then get a 20% return on $650, which generates us a lot of money, bringing us to $780, and then we finish at $730. We go $730 in year 3. We get a 0 rate of return. We pull $50,000 out, and as you see, then we hit the years where we're starting to lose money, so that in the 5th year, under the positive sequence of returns with $454,000. We get a negative 40% rate of return, which certainly devastates our portfolio, brings it down to $272,000. But we take out $50,000, we finish the year with $222,000 versus the negative sequence of return, we only have $48,000. So here with $222,000, we've got, even if we get a 0% rate of return again, a bunch of zeros, we've got about 4 or 5 years worth of money left. That is huge. And so you need to be very cognizant of what your rates of return here are in the first several years of retirement. Now, on the next video, we are going to go over withdrawal strategies and portfolio rebalancing strategies. In the last video with 5 years to go, there's a section in there that I talked about rebalancing your portfolio into bonds. And in the last video in this section, post-retirement withdrawals, we're going to then look at what are some strategies so that this doesn't hurt us. But certainly we have to be incredibly cognizant of sequence of returns. Very, very dangerous. And quite frankly, I only really fear 2 things in retirement. Illness and a negative sequence of returns right at the start of my retirement. Those would be 2 things that would devastate your golden years. So what are some of the lessons that we've learned here? One is to have a plan to downshift spending if you end up with a negative sequence of returns. That's also one of the reasons I highly recommend that you stretch out all those big payments and those big expenses the first 5 years, because you want to be able to cut those things off. You want to be able to say, well, you know what, I just had a negative 40% rate of return on my portfolio. Maybe I shouldn't take my 4 kids and 9 grandkids to Alaska for a month. You know, maybe we should put that off 3 or 4 years and see how the portfolio does. We also need to have at least 3 years worth of short-term money. So in this example, we would have wanted, if we're pulling $50,000 a year, I want at least $150,000 in short-term bonds and CDs. So I can pull money out of those if we have a big negative stock market. The other lesson to take is that bull markets, in other words, markets which are very robust, returning 20, 25, 30% per year, 18%, they tend to last 3 to 5 years. We do not want to shift all of our money out of stocks, or a large portion out of stocks, after they've had one good year, because they're going to tend to have 2 or 3 good years. You want to let that money run. But once we've hit 3 years of really good rates of return, that I would say would be over 15% average. And so we have a year of 18%, then 22, then 16. At that point, I want to start rebalancing a portfolio and shifting a bit into bonds, because odds are another 3, 4 years we're going to have some down years, because recessions come all the time. You know, they come every 4 to 7, 10 years, and there's going to be more recessions, and there's going to be more boom times, and we want to take advantage of the up years and limit our downside. So we want to rebalance that portfolio after about 3 years of a bull market. And one of the reasons that we want to stay in stocks and let this run is a loss of purchasing power. So purchasing power is defined basically as the eating away of value by inflation. As prices tend to go up and up and up, the value of our money goes down and down and down. So if we look at $10,000 now, it buys $10,000 worth of stuff. That same $10,000 10 years from now is only going to buy $7,400 worth of stuff. We've lost purchasing power. 20 years from now, it's $5,400. 30 years from now, $4,000. A couple of good things when you look at maybe 30 years from now, odds are 30 years from now, you're probably spending a lot less money. Hopefully things are set up well. You have your house. You have health care. There are a lot of people who are a young 65. They're traveling a lot. They do sports. They golf. They play basketball, even into 75, that have a lot of energy. There aren't a lot of young 95-year-olds. When you're 95, you're moving a lot slower. You tend to go on vacation a lot less. You vacation much closer to home, more time watching TV, reading. Certainly there are those aberrations. There are 95-year-old individuals who are out there who are very spry, still vacationing, still driving, still on the go, but even they have slowed down from what their pace was when they were 65. But stocks and equities grow over time, and they protect our purchasing power so that we don't get that eaten away. All right. Life is meant to be enjoyed. We want to love life. We want to enjoy life. What retirement is about is developing great memories, whether those are through vacations, time with family, friendships. That's what retirement's about. And no matter where you are on that retirement wheel and how far away it is, or how much money you retire with, true happiness is finding the joy around you. So if you don't have the money to travel to Europe and keep the big house and this and that, there's a lot of great things. There's a lot of things you can do with your friends, whether that's going out to lunch, whether it's watching your grandkids play baseball, whether it's getting together with 10 friends and being in fantasy football leagues, or a scrapbooking group, or a church group, or volunteering at Sunday school, volunteering for beach cleanup. There's a lot of great memories that you could produce. So I hope in retirement, when you get there, what you're going to do is count all your blessings and be satisfied and happy with what you have and find the joy in that, not the envy in somebody else's retirement. So the times that my grandfather talked about that were the greatest times of his life and his retirement tended to be with family. They were down at the sport field watching my sister and myself play softball and baseball and soccer, and having 20, 30 people over to his home for dinner. That's what makes life worth living. So hopefully you can take a few things from this video. I appreciate your time, and have a great day.